yogis. Welcome to weekend morning, Saturday morning Vinyasa flow. So we're going to start in a mountain pose. Now I'm going to face sideways to you because that's the easiest way for you to see me practice. But clearly you should face the screen or at least make it so that you can see. And so find a mountain pose that works for you. So for me it helps to take a moment and get my feet turned forward. Normally I stand with my feet slightly turned out to the side, so this automatically brings my awareness to my hips and my legs because I'm doing something slightly new. I like my feet a little on the wider side. You might want yours touching. In Qigong and Tai Chi, when the feet touch, that's called the heaven posture. And when the feet are wide, it's called an earth posture. So maybe you decide which one of those is the most appropriate for you. And then let your shoulders kind of roll back. I like to do a couple little shoulder circles just to open up that space. And then I'm not very much into this mountain pose where people turn their arms out because it feels almost like I put armor over my chest. And I don't really want any armor. So instead what I do is I kind of imagine that I just grew a giant kangaroo tail and I set it on the ground, which makes me use my core a little bit more, which automatically shifts my shoulders back into my back where they belong. So I can just let my arms relax. And then imagine that I'm kind of extending the crown of my head up toward the ceiling and the soles of my feet down into the floor. And that's my preference. Now, if you love your palms turned out, by all means do your thing. And take a couple of deep breaths. Ooh. And come home to yourself. I'm going to start with a couple of sun salutations. Now I'm going to do traditional sun salutations. If you would like to do your version of a sun salutation, you could do a salutation A. That would be pretty close to the pacing of a traditional sun salutation, if you know what I mean by that. So, now that I'm standing in this window, I'm quite toasty. Anyway, I'll put my hair back up. Nice big inhale. Oh, stretch up. Maybe even a little bit of a back bend. Exhale, fold forward. Now soften your knees, especially if you got tight hamstrings. Get as close to your thighs as you can get. Inhale, come up to a little halfway mark. Now, we're gonna come into downward facing dog. So you're gonna put your hands on the floor and step on back. And then we're gonna bring ourselves into a plank. Now, the plank, we're gonna bring the knees to the ground, then the chest to the ground, and then the chin to the ground. So that's the knees, chest, chin. Then you lift a little into the cobra. And then we're going to come back to downward dog. Take a nice big breath, lift your right leg up, or whichever leg you want to start with. Step that foot forward. Pause and look up. And that look up is going to turn right into a halfway point. Okay, then we're going to fold. Come all the way up. Nice big stretch. Exhale. Come back to that mountain pose. Maybe even hands to your heart. Let's do it again. Nice big inhale. Exhale, fold. Come into that halfway mark. Exhale, step yourself to dog. We're going to come to the plank and the knees, chest, chin to the ground. Cobra, you can sub in your up dog if you like that instead. Bringing ourselves back to dog. Nice big breath, left leg goes up. Step that foot forward, and then pause there. That's that halfway. So we step right into that. You can bring your hands to your shins if that's better, and then fold over and come all the way up. Try not to smack any of your plants. Exhale, come back to that mountain. Let's do that 2 more times, one on each side. Nice big stretch. Fold forward. Come into that halfway mark. Stepping yourself to dog. Come into your plank. Sometimes dog and I need a moment with each other. Knees, chest, and chin. Cobra. Coming back to your dog. First leg that you did. Step it forward. Look up. So we're coming to that halfway point. Fold it in. Coming all the way up. Oh, and to mountain. Oh, that feels big breath. Fold forward. Halfway up. Hands to the mat, step yourself back. Oh, and then your plank. Knees, chest and chin. Coming into your cobra or your up dog. And then taking yourself back to down dog. Oh. Other leg goes up. Step it forward. Look up. Step right into that halfway. Fold. And then, all the way to standing. Oh. And come back to mountain pose. Now, let's do a chair pose. So essentially, if you don't like your arms up, you can put them straight out in front of you. But just kind of sink back a little bit or a lot. I like to take the hips back more so the knees come more over the ankle. Keeps the knees happy. Take one more breath there. And then we're going to fold. Now, inhale up halfway and exhale. So we're going to step back into down dog. And for those of you that would like to do another sun salutation movement, you can add that Vinyasa, which just means a series of poses put together in a thoughtful way. You could come to plank and do your thing. And then join me back in dog, or you can stay with this dog and do a little dancing dog. So it's a way to sort of modify the Vinyasa practice. Hopefully you can hear me when I'm talking into my shirt here. All right, so now we're going to join back up and take that first leg up again, and I'm going to take it over my back a little bit. And if you have room, you could even drop it to the floor and flip upside down. And then come back. When you're ready, you'll step forward. And we're going to take this to warrior two. So I'm going to put my foot on the ground. I want to make sure I like how far apart my feet are. I like to feel my hip sockets and just make sure there's no pressure there that I don't want. And then, let's get a little snaky with it. So we're going to snake the arms. Ooh. Oh. Roll the shoulders around a little bit. Oh. Shake out an arm. Shake out your other arm. All right, let's take this to a side angle. So we're going to come on back and then take it to side. Give it a nice long stretch, and you can ease out and ease back into your side angle. Keep this inner thigh lifting and this foot pushing down into your ground, and stretch from your head, maybe even your fingertips way out. Nice big breath. And then we'll come on back. And we're going to turn this right back into a downward dog. So this is where you put in your Vinyasa, or stay with me and do a dancing dog and feel. Because usually for me there's a difference now between the one side and the other side. When you get back to your dog, you're going to take your other leg up, sink into your heel a little bit. Flip that baby up and over, and maybe all the way to the ground. Maybe that's not a good idea because there's a pet there. And then, step her forward. Make sure you're not going to face plant. And then give yourself a little jiggle. Make sure you like where you landed. Give the arms a little shake. Ooh. Give that one a little shake. Get a little snaky. I'm not very good at the wave, but I wish I were. And then we're going to come out. And take that to our side angle. So again, I'm lifting all the way through here and then stretching out of that lift to create some space for myself. Keeping myself a little core connected so I'm not too heavy on my hip. One more delicious breath. Coming all the way back. And then we're going to take it to dog. And again, you can add in your Vinyasa. Nice big inhale, come to your plank. Lower down with your exhale. Inhale yourself to a back bend. Exhale yourself back to dog. And we're all joining up together. So we're going to take a nice big breath. Bring the knee in. Curl up around it. Stretch it back. Bring it in. Curl up around it. Stretch it back. One more time. Curl up around it. Hover. And then bring it forward. And we'll come back to our friend warrior two for a moment, but I'm going to shorten my stance because I'm turning this into triangle. So if you know that your triangle is going to be a little different than your warrior two, throw that in there. So nice big breath. Coming back, and we're going to straighten out that front leg and do a reverse triangle. So we're really giving ourselves like a long line here. And then come over, whoo, and find a triangle pose. Now, some people prefer to do triangle with this kind of tucked under hip. And so what happens when you do it that way is it just, for most of us, it's gonna make our spine make this little rainbow shape. I don't know if you can see that in my back. I like to let this hip go back so that I can get more length in my spine. You do it your way. Whatever feels good in your hip. And then come back to that nice deep breath. So one more breath here. And then we're going to come all the way back. Now, we're going to take this to a half moon balance. So, I'm going to get brave. I'm going to step that leg in maybe, or even hop it a third time. I'm going to, hoist this leg up off the floor, and then try to balance. It might not go well. Whee! Take one. More breath. And then put both your hands down. And step back into dog. Whee! Okay, so that feels so good. You can do your vinyasa, big breath. Plank. Hello. And inhale into your back bend. And exhale back to dog, and join us here. Big inhale, leg goes up. And then bring it in. And stretch it back. And bring it in, round up. Stretch it back. Bring it in, hover. And then step it forward. And come to your warrior two. Again, I've got a slightly shortened stance. I'm still gonna check it out. So reverse triangle. Into triangle pose. And again, you can do it that way where you kind of kick out and lengthen, or come into it from the bottom and feel it. Maybe you've got the arm up. Maybe you're like me today and you want that arm down on your hip. I like to reconnect to my legs. Feel myself really ground into the earth and then lengthen out through my spine. Take one more breath. And then we're coming back. We're gonna half moon balance. Whee! Maybe you're using your furniture. Don't fall on your credenza. Stretch. Twinkle your toes. Take one more breath. And then step yourself into down dog. That was fun. All right. Do your vinyasa or do your dancing dog. And then everybody back to down dog. Nice big breath with this leg. Exhale. Bring it to the outside. Inhale it back. Exhale. Bring it to the outside. Maybe even touch that arm if you can. And then bring it up. Hover. And step it forward. Now, we're going to come into a low lunge. So I'm going to do a little bit of shifting here. I'm just going to kind of adjust my space. And then, when I like it, I'm going to bring my knee down. Now, you can stay with a high lunge if you prefer. So I'm going to ease the hip forward, and then I'm going to ease the hip back. Now, just a little bit. It's not a huge movement. If you're doing the high lunge, you can bring that back knee closer to the ground, and then bring it up. So 2 more of those. Ease the hip forward. Ease the hip back. Not too big a movement. All right, so then we're going to add a little twist to this. So again, you can leave your knee up in the back. Because I have my knee down, I'm going to let this leg fall open into my twist. And so you could, if you're so inclined, grab hold of your foot back there. Nice big breath. And then we're going to come on back. Now, we're going to ease the hips back enough that you feel a stretch in the hamstrings in the front. And those of you that are doing the knee up, if you want to, you can go into a pyramid pose. So bring your feet enough close together that you get this same stretch down your leg. sometimes when I get in here in the middle, my leg wants to do that, and it's because I'm overemphasizing one of the hamstrings. So if I come a little bit more towards the center, I can push that toe down, or even pick it all the way up if I want. And take one more breath. Good. Now, those of you that want a vinyasa, you're going to step back into that. I'm going to step back into dog and dance. Oh, so, nice big inhale into your back bend. Exhale into down dog. Inhale, lift your leg up. Exhale to the outside arm. Inhale, reach it back. Exhale to that outside arm. Inhale, reach it back. Exhale, hug that arm and hover. And then bring it forward. So this is either going to be your high lunge or your low lunge. And then we're going to ease forward and back a little bit. I'm going to get a drink of water. Woo. Just kind of taking the pressure off and leaning it back into the quads or to the hip flexors. Okay, so now I'm going to go in, and again, I'm going to leave my knee down because I want to drop this leg open, and then I'm going to add my twist. And you could grab that foot in the back. Okay, take one more breath. And then come on back from your twist. And those of you that are doing the leg up, if you want, do your pyramid or do this half Hanumanasana. Half monkey pose. And I'm just playing with pressing down into that big toe, keeping myself a little more centered. Now, those of you who want a vinyasa, you can step back into dog and throw your vinyasa in there. Those of you that might not want to, we can come back to dog briefly and take our dog for a little dance and see how things are going. So my hips feel a little more even. I'm liking that feeling of my shoulders moving. And then we're going to come to pigeon, but before we go there, I'm just going to take a moment in child's pose just to reconnect to my breath, give myself a little jiggle. And this is also kind of a great pose for feeling out how your hips are feeling this morning, if they're feeling tight, and how you might want to do your pigeon. So first option, of course, is you could stay with downward dog or go back to down dog, and then bring a leg forward. So you can bring a leg forward from here, spin it around, and then try to settle into it. Now, that's one option. And for me, in the morning, it feels kind of spicy on my hip. So instead, I'm going to do a seated pose. So I'm going to take myself to this shape. I'm going to turn around so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take that same leg that I had up front, and I'm going to put it up on top. Right? So it can look like that. Or you can put a block up here, or a pillow if you don't have a block. It can look like that. So you're just going to ease into the pose that feels right to you. This one is feeling a better amount of spicy for me today. Not too spicy, but just spicy enough. Ooh. I've noticed when I practice in the morning, I have a very different situation happening in my body than if I practice in the evening. And my body is much more sensitive in the morning. A lot of things feel a little tighter, a little more, there's a little more sensation with poses that in the later part of the day, I might not even notice I feel anything in. So we're going to take about 4 more deep breaths. One more big breath. I'm going to go with a big ah. And then if you're in pigeon, you're gonna kind of lean into your bent leg hip and bring your back leg around in the front. And if you're in this pose, you're pretty much already there, but you can loosen this up. So you can bring the legs into this position where there's one over top of the other. When I do that, I can't quite get my sit bone all the way down. So I move my leg around so that I can sit up nice and tall. You can even lean back a little bit and get that length and then twist. And some people can get the arm around the leg. And if you can, do that. And then I just hold on. And I'm gonna do a little isometric work for the same hip. So I'm gonna pull the knee toward me and push my leg into my hand so that my bicep and my outer hip are working with each other to create an isometric stretch all the way down through this outer hip. So I feel it along my IT band, and I feel it deep in my glute, which is technically under the glute in the external hip rotators, but you know, I'm more familiar with the glute sensation than the deep, deep ones, or you might be anyway. Oh, we all might be. So 2 more breaths here in this twist. All right, now we're gonna come around. Now, if you want to throw in a quick vinyasa, you can do that, or you can join me for just jiggling around, or going back to child's pose, or to downward dog. Because then you're gonna step yourself into your other pigeon, or you're gonna come to your other square or cow face pose. So just kind of finding your way into whichever of these options feels like the right option. I'm gonna take a pillow over here because I've got a little sense of vulnerability on that outer knee. And then once you're in your pigeon, then, or the whatever version you're doing, settle in a little bit. Give yourself a jiggle. Snuggle back through the back leg if that's available. You could try different angles in the front leg. Add a little twist or a foot grab. Nice big breaths. I'm hoping you guys can still hear me, even though I've now seen that little message flash up on the screen that told me my meeting is ending soon. So we're gonna try to go for about 5 more minutes. So you're gonna take a nice big breath. You're gonna sit yourself up, and if you are in the pigeon, you're gonna bring that back leg around. I'm gonna stay basically where I am because I'm already where I wanna be. And then you're gonna snuggle yourself into your version of the twist, right? Whatever that looked like. Get tall, you might even lean back to get tall. Twist, and then decide how your arm is going to work with your leg. And I'm working that isometric work where my thigh bone is actively trying to pull to the floor and I'm actively holding it back. Trying to get my upper back to twist just a little bit more because that's where I need the freedom. That's where I carry a lot of my stress, is in my upper back. You can even lean your head back when you do twists. There's this area right here, and it's not the sternocleidomastoid muscle, which is this big giant guy here, and it's not the carotid artery, which if you put your hands in here, you can probably feel your pulse. It's actually right under the first layer of skin. There's a lymphatic tube, is the right word. So there's little lymph nodes up here above the eyebrow and under the cheekbone, and they drain out towards the edge and down this part of the neck. So if you give your neck a stretch, so you can just feel the skin stretch right there, you can actually increase the lymphatic flow from your face, which might be good. Can't think of why it would be bad. Take 1 more breath, and then come out of your twist. All right, so we're gonna release this, and we're gonna end with a forward bending shape. Once my body feels like I'm back to normal from the twist. I always like to pause after a twist because the spine kind of shifts its fluid around so that it can collapse the discs a bit to make a twist happen. So you can take a wide angle with your legs. You could bring your feet together and go into this Paschimottanasana forward bend, kind of really tight forward bend. Or you can bring your feet together with the butterfly. That's feeling good to me today. And then take a nice deep breath and then exhale and fold over your legs. And again, once they get folded, I like to do these little wiggles. Just lift the sit bones up because for some reason it gets me, shifts my pelvis enough that I feel a little less tension around my hips. It actually feels better and a little bit softer, but also it feels like I go in a little deeper. Now I'm gonna drop my head so that I can really get a stretch through the back of my neck. And again, I'm just trying to relieve some tension, release some tension. If your head goes all the way to your feet, you can do that, but otherwise you could use a block or a pillow or something like that to rest your head, or your knees, whatever you're resting your head toward. Take about 3 more deep breaths here. I like to feel the breath in my low back. Oh, it's just nice. All right, yogis, I'm going to take a nice big inhale. I'm going to let go with a really big just let it all go. And then when you're inhale, find to the next time, roll yourself up. And let your legs kind of choose a different shape. So if they were bent, shake them out straight. And if they were straight, you can bend them and windshield wiper them back and forth. And then we're going to pause for just a moment. Now at this point, you have a couple of options. You could swing over to YouTube and do a whole nother class over there. There's a bunch of 30-minute yin and vinyasa and gentle yoga classes right now. So you could do another half an hour on your own if you wanted to, or if you want to hang out with me, I'm going to end the meeting and then start it back up and we can do Shavasana together. Otherwise, or you could do Shavasana. So you can do any of those things. And for those of you joining me on YouTube, thanks for joining me. And the information down below, there's some descriptions and other stuff for you if you want to check that out. So namaste, yogis.